performing the duties of his office.
Digby C. Caesar.
No.
Well, hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. I am Digby, this is Agent Pendergast, and today we are back in GTA 5 for a look at, well, basically, my 10 favorite cars in GTA Online. And I'll give you a quick heads up, it's not any of the ones you currently see behind me. Yeah, this is just one of the 2 garages I have for gang cars, and while it is true that in the earliest days of me playing this game, one of my favorite cars was actually the yellow gang Buccaneer. It was the very first gang car I ever acquired. I was driving by, saw it on the street, swiped it, and I ended up driving that as my personal vehicle for, well, actually for a really long time. But anyway, yes, I digress. We are only here in the gang garage because I want to put out a couple of caveats before we take a look at my genuine top 10 favorites. Now, the first thing I feel like I should mention is the fact that this is not a top 10 list of the best cars in the game. In fact, there's a couple of cars coming up in this video that you are going to rightly look at and say, honestly, Digby, what in the hell are you thinking? Because yeah, there is a huge difference between being the best and being your favorite. Which brings us on to caveat number 2. My personal favorites and your personal favorites are also probably not going to be the same thing. I mean, end of the day, your favorite of anything is very much down to your personal taste. So I am asking you, basically just, be nice, be understanding, don't be too critical of my choices. This list is absolutely 100% just a personal thing. Now, as a GTA car guy who actually owns every 10 car and up garage you can possibly own on the PC, except, the one that comes with GTA Plus, because I'm not buying GTA Plus. Anyway, yeah, I own every single garage you can own. All of them are chock-a-block full to the brim with different cars, he says, standing in a gang garage that's got 4 Toreadors behind him, 2 Mananas, 2 Buccaneers, and 2 Peyotes, and also has another gang garage that's pretty much identical to this apart from the paint jobs on the cars. Anyway, I do have a huge variety of cars to choose from, so yeah, we probably ought to define favorite as well before we get started. And the best way I can think to put it is, whenever I walk into a garage that has one of these cars in it, these are the cars that I will inevitably drive out in. And yeah, if you put all 10 into a garage, this is the order in which I would drive them out. So with all that being said, I should probably also point out that having such a huge selection inevitably means that there will be a couple that came up a little bit just short of the mark. So before we begin the video proper, I have also picked out 5 honorable mention cars that I absolutely love, I do use all the time, but which didn't quite make the top 10. First honorable mention is going to be the Sand King XL. Driving this thing is like taking a big goofy dog for a walk in the park, and very much like a big dog in the park, it's pretty much unstoppable once you get it rolling. Also, you can get this thing for free off the street. I mean, it's a brilliant truck, it's definitely one everybody should have. Second honorable mention I'm going to give to the Hammer. Yes, it is hideously expensive, but it is seriously fast, it handles like a dream, and it is bite the back of your hand beautiful to look at. Plus you can stick 4 people in it, so what's not to love? Third on the short list is going to go to the Dominator GT. This is a car I never really gave much thought to until I started playing online with my buddy Kel from That One Chick Gaming, and most of the time when we're doing anything in the game, we're doing it in this car. Like specifically this car. I ended up liking her so much that I actually bought it off of her. Yeah, this is one of the best all-around cars in the game. It doesn't matter what you're doing, from setups to heists to businesses or just goofing off or whatever, the Dominator GT is always a good shout. Now, penultimate honorable mention is going to be the Phoenix, and if you ask me why I love this thing, I don't think I could tell you. It's just a bog standard base game car that, like its little sister the Vigoro, looks just vaguely enough like the real life car that it's based on to be passable. And yet, whenever these things are in the spawn set and I need a car for some reason, I always go for a Phoenix. And then I end up driving it for a bit just because I like the way it looks and sounds, so I end up customizing it a little bit to make driving it around a little bit more fun, and before you know it, I own another Phoenix. And our final honorable mention goes to the Deviant. This is easily one of the best looking cars in the entire game, much less one of the best looking muscle cars, and it is an absolute beast. It is dramatic, it's ridiculous, I like the way it looks so much that I actually have two of them. In fact, this car only has one area in which it is a little bit deficient, and that's the engine note. Nothing that looks this good should sound like it has a weedy old six-cylinder in it. I mean, it's a fantastic car, but because it has that one flaw, it came up just shy of making my personal top 10. Now, my 10th favorite car in the game is another base game car, although unlike the Phoenix, you're going to need to buy this one if you want it yourself, and it's the Felzer. This has all the right ingredients for a great car. It handles really well, it is surprisingly fast, it makes an absolutely lovely noise, and I don't think I would ever get tired of looking at it. Whenever I play story mode, this is the car that I inevitably end up having Michael drive as his midlife crisis car. Because yeah, it is a car that gives you a very nice little sense of feeling just that little tiny bit superior to every other car around you. Yeah, this should be a very easy inclusion in anyone's top 10 list, not just mine. Now, my 9th favorite car actually needs a bit of clarification, because while the Tahoma is not a bad car, I don't actually love all of them, just this one specifically. You know, my Tahoma. And the reason I love it is because I have this car done up to be a 1970s detective car. In fact, this is the car that was driven by Fenton Hardy in the classic 1970s detective show, The Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew Mysteries. I keep it parked at my bail office so I can use it whenever I do a bounty, and I even have a 1970s detective outfit to wear when I use it. It is also one of the few cars in the game that looks absolutely perfect brown on brown, and it's as close as I actually get to roleplay in this game. Yeah, I absolutely love this car. Number 8 spot on my list has to go to the Viseris. I think I've actually told this story before, but when I was a kid growing up, there were two kinds of car guys. Those who had a poster of a red Countach on their walls right next to Farrah Fawcett, and those who had a poster of Black Pantera. Now, I was very much a Black Pantera guy. In fact, for years the Pantera was my dream car, and the Viseris, which is, you know, the GTA version of it, is as close as I have ever gotten and probably ever will get to actually having one. It may not be the fastest car in the game, but it is hands down one of the prettiest. Oh yeah, and you can weaponize it and have machine guns installed as well, so it also does come with some practical value. 100% poster porn, love it. Coming in at number 7, we have the Ruin. Now this is another base game car you can pick up and keep for free, and in fact with a little bit of effort you can even spawn one to keep that is already partially customized. So the Ruiner has a lot going for it anyways, like the fact that it handles great, looks fantastic, and sounds even better. But for me, a lot of the appeal comes from the fact that it is one of the cars in this game that I have actually owned in real life. In fact, the one you're seeing on screen now is my reproduction of that 87 Firebird that I had all those years ago. The Ruiner also has one other fun little detail that I have never seen on any other car in the game as well, and that is that all of them come with a custom license plate bracket already on them, and honestly, I chuckle every single time I see it. In 6th place, we have the Tropos Rallye. Based on the legendary Lancia Stratos rally car, which is easily one of the prettiest cars ever built, the Tropos is an absolute brute. It is ridiculously fast, it handles like a dream, it sticks to the road like it has separation anxieties, and is just as good off the pavement as it is on it. In fact, with the yearly Christmas snow update just around the corner, if you were looking for the perfect car to use for that week, this is your baby. I use it as my snow car every time snow comes around, and it has never ever let me down. In 5th place, we find the Paragon R. Specifically, the armored variant you get as a gift when you complete the Ms. Baker casino missions. Now, while there's no version of the Paragon R that is not brilliant and beautiful, the Ms. Baker version is an absolute chef's kiss. I mean, I've never had a Paragon R in the game until I got this one, and the instant I drove it, it became the go-to car for me. It was, in fact, the car I picked as my favorite in the very first ever GTA vid I did on my channel. Now, the devs have actually tried to recapture that magic with newer versions of this absolute classic, but all they do is make the original look even better, while it leaves them looking like a booger. This is one of those cars that just sings a song directly into your heart. Now, coming up just a hair, and I do mean only a hair, short of my top 3, we have the Toreador. This is a car that truly captures the spirit of Italian cars, you know, without all the electrical problems and breaking down stuff that the real ones have. I originally got this one off of the casino podium as a prize ride, and interestingly, it was the very first car I actually won on there. And yeah, it was my big money grinding car for ages. Back in the day, in fact, when I was still just starting to do Kyle regularly, not only was this my go-to for all the setups, I mean, it is really handy that you can park it inside your Kosaka, but I also used to use it every day to, like, circle the map and recover all the underwater caches. I mean, I liked it so much that I bought a second one to keep in my sub exclusively, allowing me to stick this one in my personal apartment garage for daily use. It's a brilliant car, it's worth every dime of the admittedly rather big price tag, and if you don't already have one, you absolutely should go get one. And strap yourselves in, it's about to get a little bit weird, because in third place on my list of all-time favorite cars in the game, we find... Okay, I'm going to attempt to pronounce this correctly once and only once, the Frankenstange. I mean, honestly, I just call mine the Frank. Now, I did already have one of these in my muscle car collection, but I never ever used it. Then, not that long ago, it came up as a claimable car in the Chop Shop robberies, and my first thought was, oh cool, I can replace the one in the muscle car collection with one that has a custom vanity plate on it for like 10 grand. So, of course, I went after it. Now, to say that it was disappointing would be an epic understatement. Even with my friend Kel helping me, the heist was an absolute fiasco. Then, after we finally got the car, I realized that it didn't actually have a license plate. Then after that, I had to drive it back to my garage in the wet, and I also realized that it is complete garbage. In fact, I was so annoyed at this one car that I decided I would have a bit of revenge on it before I junked it, and in an effort to get at least something out of the time and effort and the multiple deaths that went into getting my hands on it, I decided to do a video on it. Specifically, I decided to do all of the Clucking Bell setups with it, even though it is the automotive equivalent of a dumpster fire. And then I did that vid. I did all of the setups with it, and I fell completely and totally in love with it. I mean, it turns out that this car is one of those magical instances in life where something is so bad that it's actually good. You have to work so ridiculously hard to get anything out of this car, and I do mean anything, that when you do finally get it to notice you and actually do anything, there is no other feeling like it in the entire game. There's even like a weird joy you get when you drive it. I mean, it's pretty much masochism is what it is, but it's a joy that no other car gives you. And if nothing else, the noise it makes is epic. It is big, it's goofy, it's silly, and if I had to describe it in one phrase, this car is pretty much, essentially, a Saturday morning cartoon. Now, I love Saturday morning cartoons, and as much as it pains me to admit it, I love this ridiculous cartoon car. So yeah, if you thought that one was a stretch, I can only imagine what you're thinking as I reveal that my penultimate favorite car in the game is the Dundreary Regina. Now hear me out, because I promise there is a method to my madness, and I will tell you that there is one thing that this car does that no other car in the game can do, even though it is widely accepted as quite possibly the worst car in the game. So first and foremost, this car has nerd cred like no other car. Yeah, this is the Vista Cruiser from that 70s show. It's the car that took Lewis and Gilbert to college in Revenge of the Nerds. It's the car you use if you want to go on vacation with Chevy Chase. And in real life, it's the car that belonged to your dad or your grandparents that you had to borrow to go out riding around with your friends when you were in high school. It's every car you have ever been embarrassed to be seen in, and it is in fact so stupidly uncool that it goes right out the other side and is hands down the coolest thing you can be seen driving in GTA 5. You drive this, and everyone you meet will feel vaguely small and pitiful and like they are attempting to compensate for something that is obviously not an issue that you have. On top of all of that, as mentioned a minute ago, this car also has a party piece. One thing it can do that no other car can, and that is, this car is relaxing. I mean, we've all been there. You complete a heist or a mission or something where you've been tense and under pressure and on the clock and getting shot at and in the throes of a full-on adrenaline rush, and then it's over, and you're just back. Well, next time you find yourself there, get yourself into a fully upgraded Regina, crank your favorite tunes, and then just drive around for a while, and you will feel all of your troubles just slip away. I mean, you need to drive from the city to the top of the map? Do it in this car. This thing is the ultimate road trip car. It never goes so fast that you feel stressed, it never tries to throw itself at the scenery, and it's actually one of the few cars I have never had an AI driver try and hit. I mean, yes, it's silly, but it is also glorious, it's relaxing, it's peaceful, and it's wonderful. And finally, taking the top spot as my all-time favorite car in GTA 5, it's the Nightshade. Now, there are a lot of muscle cars in this game. In fact, I think it might be one of, if not the biggest and widest classes of cars, full stop. But the Nightshade here is the only one out of all of them, and you can trust me on this because I do own one of all of them. But yeah, it is the only one out of the lot that truly captures what it is like to drive a muscle car in real life. See, I was lucky enough once to own a proper muscle car. I had a 1971 Chevelle with a V8 4-speed transmission, had a Hurst dogleg shifter with an 8-ball knob on it, and I mean, it sounded like the apocalypse every time you turned the key. In fact, I had the single greatest driving experience of my real life in that car. So there was one night when the ex and I had been fighting, and I was out driving around in the Chevelle at close to 2 o'clock in the morning, just to get out of the house. I had Imogen Heap on the CD player singing Angry Angel at pretty much earbleed volume, and I was tearing down a back road beside a lake, well, pretty much going as fast as I dared to. So there's this one part of that particular road where it dips down, has a curve, and then it dips back uphill again. And when I hit that curve, I slammed the car down into third gear. I took that corner with the engine howling and the tires crying, just as Imogen hit this note. And I swear it is as close to heaven as I have ever gotten to experience. And that is what it feels like driving the Nightshade in this game. It is the only muscle car that looks like a proper muscle car, specifically an early 1970s Camaro. It is the only one that sounds like a proper muscle car, and most importantly, it is the only one I have ever driven in this game that genuinely feels like driving a proper muscle car feels. It has just the right weight, just the right suspension, just the right power, just the right everything. It is absolutely perfect in every conceivable way and an easy, hands-down pick as my favorite car in the game. I actually drive mine all the time, and if I had to sell every car I owned but one, this is the one I would keep. And there you go. That was my top 10 favorite cars in the game, along with 5 honorable mentions. And while I know that there are some of those picks that are going to be a little bit contentious, I stand behind every single one of them because, end of the day, what you like is what you like, and don't let anybody tell you any different. So yeah, as always, I have been Digby, this has been Agent Pendergast, and we thank you guys for stopping by. We really hope you guys enjoyed my personal top 10 list of cars in GTA 5, and yeah, I hope to see you for the next one.